Hey, you listen to Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM and ArrowFM. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Adio.
This past week we have the TLC pay-per-view, and we're going to get to the TLC pay-per-view, but first off, this is our 300th episode. If you made it through our 200th or our 100th, or anywhere in between, you realize we don't do a whole lot to celebrate the major milestones. But I would just like to throw out a thank you to a bunch of people, namely FreeFM for picking us up. It's about 6 years ago-ish. And then Brandon, Fid, Michael, a bunch of people we've had on the show, anyone who's jumped on for an interview. We've had Hacksaw, we've had Michael Rowe, the actor, we've had Awesome Kong. Some really awesome moments on the show. And the biggest thanks always are going to go out to Josh. If we count the writing days, we were on 4 down, doing curtain jerkers, it's definitely over 6 years that you've stuck around with this annoying kid from New Zealand and talk to him every week so he can pretend he has friends.
Hey, you have to pat yourself on the back. You've just stuck with me for 6 years, too.
It's a mutual agreement to just stick with it through the ups and the downs. And that's all. It's like a minute. That's all we're going to give it. It's time for some wrestling. And we're going to open up TLC. We had a couple of pre-show matches. First off, the Cruiserweight Championship. Buddy Murphy retaining as expected.
Yep. Time to see where Buddy goes from here with the 205 Live Championship. Cedric's taking a step back because he has to go to the back of the line now.
Yeah, it's interesting at the moment because 205 Live, as we've said multiple times, always put on great matches and everything, and Buddy champion, Cedric, he's going to fall back, but 205 Live is also getting so much more ingrained in the main roster. With Lucha House Party on Raw, Mustafa Ali on SmackDown, Drake Maverick floating about, Leo Rush. So what exactly the pool of talent that Buddy Murphy is going to be reaching into to find his next challenger, we'll
find out.
Know.
Apparently, we're going to find out next week on 205 Live.
Here we go.
Which is also supposed to be a recap show, too.
Okay.
So I'm not sure how they're going to pull that one off, but that's what... Because on the show, Buddy asked Drake to find him some competition.
Okay.
A challenge. And he said, give me a couple days, let me think about it, and next week on 205 Live, I'll come up with your next challenger.
Okay, that's interesting. I feel like when it's done that way, it's going to be someone we don't necessarily expect. Is this 205 was pre-taped as well, I assume?
Yeah, I'd have no... Since it's supposed to be a recap show next week, it may just be that they do a random video package with him that they may not have to have already had taped ring.
Yeah,
so
true.
It may not even be in the ring. I kind of hope for Aleister Black.
Interesting choice. I think 205 Live would be finished if that happened. Aleister Black would just be the champion forever. And I mentioned there the tapings. Just a quick note, obviously next week's Raw and SmackDown have been taped. We're not going to be referencing those at all in the show. Josh hasn't even read anything that's come out about them, so don't worry about getting spoiled on them. We shouldn't be mentioning them. Those will obviously be next week's show when they air on television. The other match on the pre-show, we had our ladder match between Elias and Bobby Lashley. Rules switched up a little bit now to the person who retrieved the guitar won. So Elias did manage to pick up the win, but also picked up a few welts and bruises.
But at least he still has the momentum of getting that win. It's Lashley grasping at straws at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And Leo Rush is nice, but there's only so much he can do to help Lashley.
You're really negative on the Lashley, aren't you?
I'm sorry, it hasn't worked.
Okay.
It didn't work. That's all I can say.
Fair enough. So how long until Elias is champion? of any kind. I feel like that time got extended just a little bit with some things that happened later on in the show. We're now on the main card. Fabulous Truth, Carmella and R-Truth earn themselves the number 30 entrance spot in their respective Royal Rumbles.
Nice. I'm glad for that, because they deserve it, and they've worked really well together, and they're both really personable. So, I'm really happy for R-Truth. He has stuck it out for so long with the company and done whatever they've asked him. So it's a nice little reward for him.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I'm quite happy with it as well. R-Truth doesn't get a whole lot. He gets bits and pieces here and there, and I'm sure there'll be something that goes on with his number 30 spot. I doubt we make it to the Royal Rumble and it just happens nice and normal and nothing happens. I would suspect something between now and then, potentially on the night.
Nah, I expect him to come out at number 3.
Yeah. He's going to lose the zero off the end. Yeah. It'll be interesting. No,
he just thinks that he was number 3.
He won the third
in classic
spot.
R-Truth fashion.
R-Truth's a funny man. The SmackDown Tag Team Championships, they stayed on the bar as expected. Nothing much more you can really say.
Exactly where they needed to be.
But over on SmackDown Live, we got a little bit of an interesting tidbit. The Usos were taking on the Club, and Sanity decides to... the Bar decided to come down and interfere, but they got beat to that point by Sanity coming down and asserting their dominance and seemingly setting themselves up for a tag title shot.
Yeah, they definitely stared the champions down after they finished demolishing the Usos, who then in response, the Bar decided, well, you stopped us from attacking the Usos. We're going to take out the Club as a point, to prove a point to the Sanity.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to the clash between these two. I was really hoping Sanity would get used a little bit more, so I'm quite glad they're coming into the fray now. Jumping back over to TLC, Baron Corbin, he did not become the full-time general manager of Raw.
No, he got beaten by 13 men. That's what it seemed like.
They did the I really liked what they did, bringing out everybody that he'd wronged, pretty much screwing him out of the match so Strowman didn't have to interfere or do anything, and I believe we talked about that as a possibility before the match heading into it, and it was still fun. It wasn't because I'd expected that or anything like that it was bad. It was still a really fun match. Air quotes around the word match.
Yeah, I'm sad to see the end of Constable Corbin. With that said, I'm interested in seeing where they go with him from out, because he definitely developed a lot of stock in himself with his run. With this run.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's definitely disliked by a lot of people.
Just a little.
So yeah, he's definitely one of the top heels now in Raw, which is something you couldn't have said when he came over.
Yeah. And, because we're all nice and everything, we gave Baron Corbin a second chance on Raw.
Only to be beaten in a 4-on-1 handicap match with a special guest referee, Heath Slater, who then, after it was first was pretending to be looking at the ring cover, pad covers, whenever they were doing something illegal. Then they decided, no, it's a disqualification match, and then he joined in on the beating.
Yeah.
So the referee beat down on him too.
It's good fun.
Yeah.
That's all it is. People not just have fun watching wrestling? Is that impossible? We have a
For the internet, it is.
I was waiting for that comment. We have a tables match. Natalya taking out Ruby Riott. She had the jacket. She had the powerbomb. And then on Raw, she's earned herself a match against Rousey as well.
Yeah, they're getting that out of the way.
Everything is coming up Natalya.
I'm alright with that. It gives her a moment. before she gets her arm snapped in half.
Yeah, I was going to say a moment. No longer, not 2 moments, not 1.5 moments, 1 moment. That is it.
Yep, she'll get her arm snapped in half and beaten to death with it.
To be fair, though, we thought the match against Nia Jax at TLC was going to be a lot shorter. She lasted over 10 minutes.
It was her best singles match since coming up to the Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Other than maybe Survivor Series with Charlotte. But as far as her actual defenses, that was definitely her best match. And I think her 3 best matches are her first match in WrestleMania with Charlotte, and then here.
Okay.
But she's definitely really coming to her own.
Yeah, she's improving like leaps and bounds, and getting so much more comfortable with what she's doing. It, as expected, almost, it's coming across so much as second nature now. That she's just starting to own that ring. As long as everything continues along the current trajectory, she's going to be really important for a really long time.
Yeah. Especially, I think, in about 4 months.
Oh, yeah, 4 months. That puts us in April. Nothing important happens in April. It's just a random month in the wrestling calendar.
It's not like they're booked for $100,000 seat venue or anything.
Nah. Oh, it's probably song time. I was going to keep going. I was going to power through, but I feel like it's probably song time. So to celebrate our 300th episode, we are going to play a special song this week, and that song is Mustafa Ali's theme. It has absolutely nothing to do with 300 episodes. Because why would we theme anything? Just enjoy Mustafa Ali's theme. That's all you got. And you're back with the Wrestling Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, Grady and Josh. You remember when we used to play 2 themes an episode? Like, how did we ever have time to talk? You'd have to, like, give me a current theme that was, like, something new, and then you were like, here's a random Legends theme. Oh.
It wasn't my decision to start with that, though, remember?
I
was just the one that picked the songs.
We had, like, a spreadsheet, I remember. It was, like, because we couldn't play this... Oh, again, a crazy decision by me. We couldn't play the same song twice. And I'm pretty sure we held that for, like, over 100 episodes of just, like, no, we've played that one, we've played that one, we've played that one. We made some great decisions early on, but now we're sticking to the one song, so we have a little bit longer to talk about things. And we need it. The next match on TLC. Let's just roll back into it. Finn Balor, Drew McIntyre. Drew taking the loss.
Little surprise here, but I can't really say Drew was hurt that much because, well, it wasn't because of Finn that beat him.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems as though there's some, like, weird 3-way feud happening. It is what it is. Obviously, at the moment, it looks as though Drew McIntyre was positioned to move up a little bit. And I guess we just got to wait a little while before we get to that point. And the one thing I'd like to say about this match is, haha, Brandon, so much for Finn is going to lose. That's all I have to say about that. Rey Mysterio, Randy Orton, chairs match. Rey took the win.
Yeah. It was a really good match. There was a lot of interesting spots. Rey diving out of the ring with a chair and doing a splash was a very, very interesting spot. And I like that they just ended the match with a roll-up. A random roll-up.
Yeah, it was a interesting match, definitely. I quite liked the bobsled move. It looked neat. And as you say, there were quite a few spots like that where you're just like, that's just pretty cool. And overall, we know these guys can go. And I'll constantly make the 2007 joke about it, but there's still 2 really good guys who can keep going, despite the fact that they've been around for 10 odd years. I always get my dates wrong. I had to rethink that one before I said it. we already talked about the Ronda Rousey match, so we're moving on. It's Daniel Bryan retaining against AJ Styles, and moving on, some would say.
It was a great match. I think it was just about everything we would hope that we would see anytime they had already clashed.
Mm-hmm.
And but the two just brought it. I am interested in seeing where Daniel Bryan goes from here. It does appear that perhaps, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, that his next contender could be somebody less than 205 pounds.
Yeah, I was going to say, that when you were talking about let's see where Daniel Bryan goes from here, well, directly after this, he loses to Mustafa Ali. Sure, it was a tag match, but an interesting turn of events, nonetheless.
So, that was a huge win for that young lad, especially now that we found out he's permanently on the SmackDown roster.
It's an interesting choice. But he's showing pretty quickly that he's good to go.
So I'm hoping... I kind of actually do... I know we saw the match last week. But I kind of want to see it at the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
A one-on-one between Ali and Daniel Bryan, where Ali gets more of a chance to actually... Maybe gets that Neville moment where you almost think he won the title, but he didn't.
Yeah. It was a great moment.
But yeah, I'm very interested in if that's the direction they want to go.
Don't forget we got the Miz. Come on, Miz.
WrestleMania.
Gotta get there. Dean Ambrose. He's the new Intercontinental Champion.
I did say I didn't see it happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. Well, it is what it is. But it was a decent match. Unfortunately for Seth, this is like the third match in the last year that has gotten hijacked by the fans.
Welcome to Seth. Just all Seth's matches.
So Seth is starting to get the Roman Reigns treatment.
What? Next it'll be Ambrose. We'll just go in a circle. We'll just finish them off.
It's so weird because Brahms is like number 2 or 3 on the top of the list of best workers in the company.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, AJ Styles is number 1, and that's not an arguable point. But it just, I don't know what it is, but the fans just, they clamor for him, and then they crap on his matches randomly.
Yeah. It's just what happens. Sorry, Seth. He's the man at the front now on the new Raw poster. Maybe they don't hate... No, hold on. I changed my mind. I got a better tracking joke to make here. Maybe we should just listen to Daniel Bryan. They're really fickle. They're just fickle. Asuka, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair. We also have a new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Amazing, man. These 3 ladies absolutely brought it, even if the announce table didn't. But yeah, it's hard to argue. These 3 are probably the best 3 workers in the company as far as women go.
Yeah, they're up there.
And they're up there among the men too, so I'm not going to disparage that. It was the right decision. It's Asuka's time. And that frees Becky Lynch, that frees Charlotte Flair for a potential mega match at WrestleMania.
But Josh, doesn't Becky Lynch have her rematch clause?
Apparently not. Apparently, with the shaking things up, they killed that clause.
I just wanted to throw that out there. And I think it really plays well into this circumstance, because if we're going to have something happening where Becky's in the Rumble, that means the Becky-Asuka rematch can't happen at the Rumble. And that means it would have to happen on a SmackDown beforehand, and that Becky still can't be champion going into it, so Becky's going to have to lose to Asuka again on a SmackDown. Would essentially be what's going to have to happen if the rematch clause was being enforced. And I think without the clause, we just get opened up so much better.
And I had people arguing with me that she didn't need to lose the title for a match at WrestleMania to be set up between her and Ronda. I'm like, then you're going to have Ronda lose her title prior to WrestleMania, thus nullifying the fact that she's not undefeated.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Becky was the one that needed to lose her title, and they did it in a way that it doesn't hurt Becky because she didn't directly get beat.
Yeah.
And now they've opened up, and honestly, I had originally was like, okay, so we're going with Becky and Ronda, and like, with the ending of that match, I'm like, I want to see these three in the ring together. I want to see them at WrestleMania, main eventing the show, being the last match.
So what are we doing? Are we doing co-winners?
We're doing co-winners.
Co-winners?
We're doing they eliminate each other as the final elimination.
Please don't watch it. Please don't watch it.
Yeah. And they both will pick Ronda, and they both will then have a triple threat match.
I'm happy.
And that will be the main event of WrestleMania.
Book it. So we talked about these change-ups on Raw and SmackDown, and now's the time. So Raw opens, and the entire McMahon family now run Raw and SmackDown, minus Linda, and plus Triple H.
Oh, I'm interested in seeing where they go here. They said that people have the power, that they're going to listen to their audience.
Bad idea.
Yeah, some cases I think so, but we'll see. Maybe they can work it out.
Let's just have a, what was it, Taboo Tuesday, was it? Is that the one where...
Taboo Tuesday, Cyber Sunday. I actually like those pay-per-views.
So did I. I joke about them, but they were actually pretty good. I quite liked the concept, and I think with the network, it would be really cool to do an event like that, but whether it happens or not, we haven't done it yet.
I miss the app voting.
True. We'll see. We'll see what we end up doing with this new way, but it means that for now, the entire McMahon family is on television, potentially of the same alignment. Shane McMahon is still being used with The Miz on SmackDown. So we have to see how we get... To me, it's how we get from here to WrestleMania. Specifically for this lot, and I don't quite know what we're going to do between now and then, or even what the outcome is going to be at WrestleMania. But it's got that WrestleMania smell all over it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we're just going to have to wait and see, but we're going to have patience, people. Everything can't change overnight.
Well, it can. Paige can get fired overnight.
That's because they wanted to get rid of her role entirely, the position at all as can be. Makes sense. I've heard they're probably going to put her as an analyst on the pre-show.
So what happens to Alexa Bliss?
Obviously, she has no power anymore.
No. Yeah, we pretty much snapped our fingers, and anyone who is in an authority role is no longer. And the McMahons are just going to be taken over. That's just how it works. But they immediately listen to the fans by setting up Dean Ambrose versus Tyler Breeze. I don't quite know if the McMahon family interfered in who was going to answer the open challenge, but maybe they did, and maybe they picked Tyler Breeze.
It's an okay match.
To me, it contrasted, because Tyler Breeze just recently returned to NXT and did a match there with Ricochet, I believe it was. And yes. Obviously it's two completely different crowds and everything. But the reaction difference. But it's not necessarily, Raw were quieter when he came out. I think it was more of they weren't as loud at the start of the match, but they were starting to get behind him as the match went on. And I think that proves something more than getting a loud pop because you came back. That he was convincing people in the live crowd as the match went on. And I'm hoping that means good things for Tyler Breeze. I'm unaware of Fandango's timeline, or what necessarily we're going to see out of those two, or Breezy as a singles.
Breeze has always been a pretty good wrestler, so I don't know what the plans are for him. It may have just been a one-off thing, and he may go back to catering. But at least it got him on television, and it showed that he has at least some drawing ability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's always a good thing. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with him in the futures. Is there anything else you want to mention off Raw and SmackDown? We're coming to the end of the show here.
Well, the women obliterated the last hour of Raw.
We We're getting a real heavy main event with that focus.
Yeah.
So much more brighter as well. All right.
Yeah, I am looking forward to Natalya versus Ronda next. I think that will be I'm also looking forward to Nakamura versus Rusev. I think that'll be an interesting match to see if they really are going to be listening to the fans or not. Because it may
Is that SmackDown
Christmas
on
Day
Christmas
may
Day,
turn
is it?
into Rusev Day.
I can see
Yes,
them doing
yes,
that
it
just
is.
for the memes now. Just for the memes. All right, well, that's all we got time for. For the 300th time, thanks for talking to us. And visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRadio, Twitter page,
Bye.
twitter.com/WrestlingRadio. And we'll see you all next week with a Christmas-themed episode. Jokes we never do themed.